The year is 1945. World War II has finally come to an end. Amidst the ruins, a new world order begins to take shape. Nowhere is this more evident than in Berlin, a city scarred by war. The years that followed saw the city physically divided by concrete and barbed wire. Built in 1961, the wall was a stark symbol of oppression. For nearly 3 decades, the Berlin Wall cast a long shadow over the city. The Berlin Wall quickly transcended its physical form to become a powerful symbol of oppression and the stark realities of the Cold War. For the West, it served as a potent reminder of the communist threat, a tangible manifestation of the restrictions imposed on those living under Soviet rule. Images of East Germans attempting to flee to the West, some tragically losing their lives in the process, were seared into the global consciousness. The wall became a focal point for protests and demonstrations, a rallying cry for those advocating for freedom and democracy. World leaders, artists and musicians flocked to Berlin, using the backdrop of the wall to denounce oppression and call for change. Ronald Reagan's famous words, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall," echoed the sentiments of millions around the world yearning for a brighter future. Behind the Iron Curtain, the wall represented isolation and the stifling control of the communist regime. Travel restrictions made it nearly impossible for East Germans to visit loved ones in the West. The flow of information was tightly controlled, limiting access to news and cultural influences from beyond the Eastern Bloc. The wall served as a constant reminder of the limited freedoms available to those living under communist rule.
While the Berlin Wall stood as a seemingly impenetrable barrier, the seeds of change were being sown. Within East Germany, a spirit of dissent began to take root. Fueled by economic stagnation, restrictions on personal freedoms, and a desire for reunification with the loved ones in the West, a growing number of East Germans began to question the legitimacy of the communist regime. Clandestine meetings were held in churches and private homes, where citizens risked their freedom to discuss democratic ideals and dream of a future free from oppression. Underground newspapers, smuggled in from the West, provided a vital lifeline to the outside world, offering glimpses of alternative viewpoints and fueling the desire for change. As the 1980s progressed, the calls for reform grew louder. Inspired by the Solidarity movement in Poland and the winds of change sweeping across Eastern Europe, East German activists took to the streets in peaceful protests. Demands for freedom of speech, assembly, and the right to travel freely were met with resistance from the East German government, but the tide was beginning to turn. The Night the Wall Fell, a symphony of joy, November 9th, 1989, a date forever etched in history. A day of confusion transformed into a night of joy. Günter Schabowski's press conference was the catalyst. Announcing new travel regulations, he created confusion. When asked, he replied, "It takes effect immediately." This statement, broadcast live, set events in motion. Thousands flocked to the border crossings. Border guards opened the gates. A wave of humanity surged through, tears of joy. East and West Berliners embraced, united in celebration.
The fall of the Berlin Wall was a spontaneous eruption of joy and celebration. Stay tuned for more, like, follow, and subscribe.